Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. Differentiation. Not just any kind of differentiation, but sales differentiation. Well, I have good news, my friends. I don't ordinarily do this, but for my friend Lee Salz, I am going to do this. I'm going to read his official introduction, and then I'll tell you the real deal about what's going on with Lee. So check this out, because even the introduction has differentiation baked into it. Crazy. So my guest today is Lee Salz, a globally recognized sales differentiation strategist and author of the hot new sales book, which, by the way, is excellent, The First Meeting Differentiator, Transforming Sales-Focused Discovery into Client-Centric Consultations. This is the third book Lee has written in the sales differentiation series, 7 books total, by the way. Known as a sales contrarian, Lee combats old-school, ineffective selling methods and challenges you to think differently about your selling approach. Creator of Sales Differentiation Strategy, Lee guides sales organizations to win more deals at the prices you want, registered trademark on that phrase, by differentiating what and how you sell. In 2022, the Institute for Sales Excellence named Lee Speaker of the Year, and he was recently named by Global Gurus to their top 30 sales thought leaders for 2025, ranking him number 6 in the world. Lee specializes in building salespeople into world-class sales forces. Welcome, Lee Salz. And welcome, Lee Salz.
Thank you, David. Boy, what an introduction.
So so that's the official introduction. You are genuinely one of the good guys in the sales training, sales leadership, sales management space. And someone once paid me this compliment, which I'm now going to pass on to you. So I go to these various industry events. I'm online like you are. One guy said to me, Newman, what I like about you is you just keep showing up with value. And I know that's one of the central tenets of the entire sales differentiation strategy and the First Meeting Differentiator. Before we dive into all of that, I would love for folks who do not know you yet, and I don't know what's wrong with them, but for folks who do not know you yet, could you please just share a little bit about your professional journey that brought you to the work you're doing today and some fun pit stops that were along the way?
Absolutely. But wait a minute. There are people that don't know who I am?
I know. It's weird. It's weird.
On February 14th, 1969, I was born. Well, did I go too far back, David?
It's up to you, man. I mean, if you were selling great stuff as a baby, let's go there.
Well, as a child, you had to sell ideas. Can I sleep over at my friend's house, right? So it does start very, very young.
For sure.
Putting aside, when I was in college, I was a full-time student. I went to what was called SUNY Binghamton at the time. It's now called Binghamton University. Yeah. And I was managing a gym. Always loved the fitness world. And my first job out of college was I was the executive director of a chain of health clubs in Syracuse, New York. How did that happen? And this was the importance of networking and getting to know people. One of the members of the gym I was managing in college was a banker. And he said, we just loaned a bunch of money to these muscleheads in Syracuse. They don't have a clue what they're doing with these health clubs. So you need to go run that. So he introduced me, I think it was 16 owners at the time. And they said, okay, here are the keys. Go make it happen. So my first job, David, right out of school, I was negotiating advertising deals, writing radio and TV commercials, developing sales programs, all of this wonderful stuff, operational stuff. And this was really cool. And I was making, you're sitting down, David, I can tell, $600 a week. Now, 22 years old, that's good money. And I got recruited to Bally, the largest health club chain, and I was the youngest executive in the company. and I got an increase. I was making $50,000 a year. Then I discovered I was at the top of the food chain. So 50,000 at 23 years old is nice. 50,000 at maybe 50 years old, not so much.
Yeah.
So I said, this fitness thing, I really like this, but it's got to be a hobby. But I love the sales world.
Mm.
So I went into the technology space, and my career went in a number of different companies, and both technology and in services, building sales organizations. My reoccurring theme in my career was I would either go to a startup or a turnaround situation. The worst thing a recruiter could say to me is, "Hey, we've got this opportunity." And they had someone did a great job and he got promoted. So they're looking for someone to pick up where he left off. Not interested. Tell me it's new. Tell me it's a mess. Tell me no one's figured it out. I'm in. We'll talk about money later.
Right.
So I did that, built sales organizations, helped to build a company for it to be sold. And then in 2007, went off on my own with my first book that came out, and have never looked back.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, I want to talk about the whole sales differentiation series, of which this new book is number 3.
Mm-hmm.
The brilliance, I think, behind this is a lot of people hear the word differentiation and they're like, well, that's a marketing thing, or that's a product development thing. And so salespeople sometimes feel, hey, I'm selling vanilla here. I'm selling screen doors. I'm selling home heating oil. I'm selling, steel rack manufacturing. There really is nothing different about our product or our service.
Right.
And then my friend Lee Salz comes along and says, doesn't matter. It's not what you're selling needs to be different. It's how you're selling that needs to be different. How did you land on this? And just for folks that are not familiar with this term, sales differentiation that you've basically invented, what is sales differentiation and how is it different than like marketing differentiation?
That's a great question. So often when I talk with executives about differentiation, you're exactly right. Their mind goes one place, marketing. They're not wrong. They're just limited in their beliefs. I believe there's 2 types of differentiation. There's a role for marketing and a role for sales.
Yeah.
And they're related, but they're also different.
Yeah.
See, marketing differentiation is one directional communication for the masses. It says, hey, look at us, we're here. That's what your website does. You go to a trade show. That's what your trade show booth does. Sales differentiation takes marketing differentiation and brings it all the way down to a 2-directional interaction for one specific individual. Everyone buys for a different reason. And our job in sales is to take all the potential of what could be, that's what marketing differentiation gave, to narrowing it down to what should be for this individual in this circumstance. And that's the role that we play in sales.
A lot of times I think sales leaders, sales managers will come to you for consulting, keynote speech, and one of the first things they tell you is, Lee, our team has a real closing problem. We can't close these deals. We can't close enough deals. We get beat up on price. It's a closing problem. It's a pricing problem. And once you dig in, you realize you didn't lose this sale at the end. You lost this sale at the beginning. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I get calls every week from executives, and they sound exactly like that. Lee, we got a closing problem. Closing problem. And I'll empathize. I'm sorry to hear that. Tell me what's going on. It takes about 15 minutes to get off their chest to go, Lee, my salespeople, they tell me about these deals that are imminent, that are going to happen, finish line, and it unravels. Right? They put the deal off into the future, which I know is never. They ghost us, meaning they stop communicating with us.
Yeah.
The competition is there, and they're saying, if you don't drop your price to this unacceptable level, we're going with them, or we just lose it to the competition.
Yeah.
All this to say we have a closing problem. Like I said, 15 minutes, get this off their chest, and I can see they're exasperated when they're done. So I empathize again, and then I correct them. David, based on what you shared with me, it doesn't sound like you have a closing issue at all. Now they get annoyed. Hey, weren't you listening? I just spent 15 minutes giving you chapter and verse of all these closing issues we have. I heard every word. Based on what you've shared with me, closing is the symptom for the issue that you have. Now they become docile. Well, then what's the issue? It's in the first meeting. It's how you're opening the relationship. There's so much going on in that first meeting, right? We're acquiring information, we're sharing information, we're differentiating ourselves. Hopefully, we're engaging emotions. So much going on there. One of my expressions, and I talk about this in the book, the first meeting is the deal foundation. If it's weak, the deal is weak. So if you're not happy with what's happening in the deal finish line, that's not where you have an issue. Map it all the way back. What are you doing in that first meeting? Because that's where the foundation is.
Yeah.
When people are saying, your price is too high, or all of a sudden they're disappearing on you, you didn't do something wrong here at the end. You did something wrong at the very beginning.
Hey, super quick station break question. Have you seen our free executive briefing on elevating your CEO brand? Check it out right now at doitmarketing.com/webinar. And now back to the show.
Can I come back to something that you and I talked about before we went live?
Yeah, please.
We were talking before about this packet that I gave you.
Yes.
In preparation for today.
Yeah.
And you were opening and you were talking about differentiating how you sell. Now, I'm sure you get opportunities to speak with lots and lots of authors and speakers. So how do I stand out? Well, one of the things that I recognize is it's a lot of work for an interviewer to have someone on a podcast. And of course, you want to look good to your guests.
Yeah.
And you want to do that in the fewest minutes possible. So I get inside your head as a podcast host and say, what can I do to make your job easy? What are you normally asking people? What are all your social media handles? What should I be asking you about? Oh, you got a new book? I don't have time to read the entire book. Give me a synopsis. So wait, who are you? Give me a little background on you. So that's an example of something, again, putting into practice, differentiating how you sell. And David, you made a comment to me. How often do you get a packet like that from your guests?
After 500 episodes, I would say you might be 2 or 3. And I think because you were on the show before, you were probably number 2 and number 3, and some other weirdo was the first one many years ago. But it's my idea. It's 1 out of 500, let's say.
Yes. And so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right? 500 plus guests. They all have great information to share. What am I doing to make your job easier to accomplish what you're looking to accomplish?
Amen. Yeah, 1,000%. Right. Save time, make me look good, make me look smart, make my job easier, all of the above.
I do the same thing for your first meetings with prospect.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about this. A lot of people teach and preach discovery, how to have a discovery conversation. And if you look at some of these templates, you look at some of these scripts, as seasoned salespeople, you and me, we look at this like that's not a discovery call, that's an interrogation. So right. What are some of the DNA markers of discovery done right, which is also, you detail this, of course, in your book, but just for the sake of our conversation today, what are some of the do's and don'ts in the kind of classic discovery call?
So there are first meetings that are done right, but discovery is not going to get you there. One of my favorite questions to ask salespeople: if I agree to take a meeting with you, David, what do I get out of it? And I'll get a deafening silence in return, and they'll say, oh, well, you'll learn about my company and what we offer. You just failed. Yeah. And they'll be puzzled. I said, well, let me explain to you. There's 2 types of sales, and I'm going to take you to a bathroom environment to depict those 2. You ready, David?
I'm ready.
Okay. I sell toilet paper. You buy toilet paper, but you're not buying my toilet paper. You're buying from a competitor. But I feel you should be buying my toilet paper because it's superior. That's a takeaway sale. That's what most salespeople are in, as an environment. So that's sale type 1. Sale type 2. You buy toilet paper, I sell bidets. It's an alternative way of solving a problem. But let's come back to the environment most salespeople are in. Takeaway. So you're reaching out to me. You're saying, meet with me. I already have a supplier in place, and I've got 400 things on my desk to do. And you're saying the only thing I'm going to get out of this meeting is I learn about you and your stuff. I'm not taking that meeting. So let's try again. So what do I get out of it? And they go, okay, I'm stumped. And that right there is the problem with the discovery mindset, with discovery meetings. Because the way we prepare for those interactions, let me make a list of the questions I'm going to ask, the information I'm going to share. What does the other person get out of it? Nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes prospecting so hard.
Yeah.
We have conditioned the general public to believe, and rightfully so, that the only time to meet with a salesperson is when you're ready to buy something, because you're not going to get anything out of that interaction.
Yeah.
But what if we looked at that first meeting through a different lens? Think about the times when you've gone to the doctor. You go there for two reasons: to become wiser about your circumstances and to understand potential remedies. You wouldn't go to the doctor if you thought you were a science experiment where they're going to gather all this data about you and you're going to walk away and you get nothing out of it. You'd never go.
Right.
But that's what a discovery meeting is.
Yeah.
And of course, the medical community doesn't call that discovery. They call it a consultation. And I'm not going to claim to have coined that expression. It's been around. The sales world has not embraced it.
Yeah.
So I'm on a mission to eradicate this discovery mindset and get salespeople to embrace the expression consultation. Because when you do, you recognize the person you're meeting with also has to get something out of that interaction.
Yeah.
So there's a piece that I put together. David, I'm assuming our audience likes free things, right?
They love free things, Lee. They really
do. Figure they would. Well, I've got a tip sheet, 10 ways to provide meaningful value during first meetings. It's actually an excerpt from the new book. But if you go to meaningfulvalue.com, I know it's a tough URL to remember, meaningfulvalue.com, you can download 10 ways to provide meaningful value. But you'll notice the theme is, if I meet with you, I come away wiser as a result of that interaction.
Yes.
And once you define that meaningful value, you fold it into your prospecting. By the way, David, when we get together, I'll share with you a best practice that operations leaders are using to creatively reduce costs. Oh, if I get together with Lee, I'm going to learn something. Let's take that meeting.
Yeah, totally. You know, there was a survey, and maybe you remember who did this. It was Selling Power or one of the big sales research firms, and they talked to hundreds of CEOs and executive buyers, executive decision makers. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions, maybe even the first question, was, why do you take a meeting with a salesperson? And the answers were fascinating. So one of the top answers was to find out new information, look at trends, see what my competitors are doing. Number two, to learn about advances in technology or what else is happening in the landscape that others are doing that we might not be doing. The third one is, just for sort of, to update my own inventory, my own kind of mental database of what's happening. So it's like a research, climate sort of thing. None of it is to learn about what they're pitching me. The reason, if you want to get to a C-level executive, even in a small or medium-sized company, pitching my stuff is not the reason they're going to take the meeting. It's about learning about the environment, learning about their competition, or finding out something valuable that they can use as an edge in their business.
And I don't remember who conducted that study, but there's a study that I like to cite that the Ring Group did a few years ago.
It might be them, actually. It might be them.
Okay. Well, they asked executives if they had ever taken a meeting from a salesperson that reached out to them through some form of prospecting. What percentage of executives do you think said, yes, I took a meeting with a salesperson that reached out through prospecting?
Guessing it's low because you're a contrarian kind of guy. 15%.
82.
82. Okay. So
82%.
So outreach works, apparently.
Well, the study didn't stop there. They got the secret sauce, the key ingredient to getting that meeting. Personalization. So if you're sending generic emails, leaving generic voicemails, or heaven forbid, David, you get someone on the phone it's a generic conversation, you're not going to be in that 4 out of 5. And that doesn't stop. If your first meeting is crafted so it's for everyone, it's for no one.
Yeah.
They want a personalized experience. When they're just like we start with the prospecting, when I get that message from you, it has to read like you sent this just to me. When you have that first meeting, it has to feel like this is just for me. It's not cookie cutter. It's not something you're doing every hour on the hour.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because I love that. And it's obviously treating prospects like human beings instead of like numbers, and treating them like important human beings. When we're talking about research before the reach out,
Yeah.
and you say this to a sales leader or even a salesperson, they go, Lee, I don't have hours and hours and hours to dedicate to this. My guess is you can do a fairly good job of this in maybe 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. You go to their website, you go to their about page. If they're a public company, you go to their investor relations page, their press release page. You check out their social media, see what the last 5 posts on LinkedIn. If they have a blog, see what the last 5 blog posts were. Is it more than that, or is it about 15 minutes per client research?
It's AI, go to ChatGPT and create a great prompt. You can probably cut that in half. Right? A lot of the information you just cited could get fed to you with one really good prompt.
That's true. That's true.
Right? And get you teed up. Yeah.
So
But you touched upon something that really is hurt salespeople.
Yeah.
It's the expression that they've heard countless times, which is why they're not personalizing the experience. Sales the numbers game. And if you exclusively look at sales through the lens of a numbers game, you treat people like a number. And of course, no one wants to feel that way.
Yeah.
And a numbers game and a personalized approach are opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So when sales leaders say, I've got my salespeople making 2,000 calls a day, okay, what you just told me is there is no personalization in your sales organization whatsoever.
Right.
What if we cut it down? What if we said we're going to have 20% of that volume, but it's going to be quality outreach? We're going to make sure we're calling the right people with the right messaging in the right circumstance so that we book those meetings, because if there's no meeting, the deal never goes anywhere. We book those meetings so that we can have the right conversation.
So important. Let's talk a little bit more deeply about this concept of a consultation that leaves the prospect with value, whether they decide to take the next step or not. And then we'll talk about how to make the next step really compelling anyway. But talk to me about what are some of the positive outcomes that a prospect would and should get from a really solid consultation.
For one, we made them think. There's a meaningful value test I give at the end. If I think the meeting has gone well, I'll say, so how'd we do today? I'm looking for them to come back. Oh, this was great. This was time well invested, not spent. Remember, they had 400 things on their desk. Yeah. They're investing minutes. If they gave me 5 minutes, if they gave me 50 minutes, every one of those was taking them away from the 400 things on their desk.
Yeah.
And they'll say, I'm so glad we got together today, because you really got me thinking about something I hadn't really thought about, and you have some creative ideas. Really, my wheels are turning. And the mistake that we make so often at the end of a first meeting, and we've all done it, doesn't matter if you've been in sales for 5 minutes or 50 years, meeting's winding down, David, everything's gone well. And I say, all right, so David, I'll just reach out to you next week and we'll pick up a time to continue the conversation. Energy is high, a lot of excitement. Now, if you want to chase someone into the next century, do that.
Right.
None of us want to do that. So the meeting, every meeting, that first meeting that's gone well, has to end with a clearly defined next step and a scheduled next interaction. I get asked all the time about ghosting. How do I stop ghosting? Well, the one thing that I've found that greatly diminishes ghosting is having a scheduled meeting.
Yeah.
If you leave the conversation with, well, I'll send you an email next week, high likelihood you're going to get ghosted. But if we have something on the calendar, my own experiences, again, eating my own dog food, most likely they're going to show up.
Yeah.
Nothing works 100% of the time, but I assure you, it's exponentially higher than trying to catch them again, send another email and voicemail. I've got that scheduled next time for us to talk.
Yes, totally. Never leave a meeting without booking the next meeting. Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview.
So one of the things that we often do in sales is we get that meeting, we're all excited. So we want to get everything in that meeting, right? Tell them everything. Show if we've got samples, let's bring the dump truck here and put all the samples on. We got to show them everything. Maybe we bring our compliance expert in and the CEO and everybody. Then the question I get asked is, how do I get the next meeting? Well, you just told them everything. You showed them everything. What reason is there to meet with you again?
Yeah.
There isn't. So there's a concept I talk about in the book. There's a chapter dedicated to this, and it's called consultation cliffhangers. And it's pulling from a TV concept. You remember the show Dallas?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Who Shot JR? That wasn't in the middle of the season, was it?
Yeah. It was at
Right?
the end.
The last episode finished with him getting shot, and you had to wait till the next fall to find out who done it.
Yeah.
And why do they do that? It's because they want to make sure the eyeballs that are on that last episode come back for the next one.
Yeah.
And that's just one example, but that is a common practice with TV shows. So I said, let's apply this to sales. And instead of showing them all the samples, we're trying to squeeze the demo in. So now we didn't acquire enough information to really understand the opportunity, but let's thrust a demo on them in the few minutes that we do get with them. And there's no reason to continue the conversation.
Right.
So you want to accomplish enough in that first meeting so that they desire, instead of us forced, they desire to continue interacting with you. So that compliance expert, that's the next meeting. Bringing the CEO, that's the next meeting. The demo, that's the next meeting. You can give them a taste, again, to accomplish the objective of wanting to continue interacting with you.
Yeah.
And the reason I push this so hard is, are you familiar with Herman Ebbinghaus? Have you ever come across that name?
I have. I'm not sure what the context is, though.
Okay. So he was a researcher in the 1800s, late 1800s, and he developed what's known as the forgetting curve. See, that's why I don't remember it. It's the forgetting curve.
That's exactly right. He was correct.
Yes. And what he found back then, and it's still valid today, people forget 50% of what they learn within 24 hours and remember less than 10% a week later.
Yeah.
So let's do the math for everyone. You have a 1 hour first meeting. A week later, they remember about 6 minutes of it. Ouch. So you show them everything. You told them everything. They feel they know everything. So they see no reason to continue interacting with you, but they really only remember a few minutes of it.
Yeah.
So we want to temper that approach and say, let's focus on what needs to be accomplished in that first meeting to make sure the deal is energized for future interactions as well.
Now, we have given them a context of value. We have made them think differently. We have been tremendously helpful, tremendously useful. We've even set up this series, the cliffhanger series of meetings. The salespeople listening are like, Lee, this is great. I'm now like Mother Teresa. I am a well of generosity and wonderfulness. What's in it for me? And one of the things that's what's in it for me for the salesperson is you also very ingeniously bake in qualifying this prospect at every stage of this process. So while being generous, while being helpful, while sparking all these insights, tell us how the qualifying and disqualifying is happening on the salesperson's side.
Well, salesperson's most precious resource is time. And top salespeople, when you look at the top performers, they are so careful in how they invest every single minute in deal pursuits. And one of the conversations I've had way too often is I'll get taken through a deal journey, a deal that they did not win.
Yeah.
They described it as losing it at the end. And after they take me through the journey, They say, you didn't lose the deal. Like, yes, we did. Like, no, you were never in the deal. You were never a viable option. There are questions you could have asked in the first 15 minutes of the first meeting that would have told you, run. This is not going to happen, not a fit. So, one of the most unappreciated skills, both with salespeople and executives, qualifying. And what we've told salespeople is here's an ideal client profile, and that should help you. And that is the worst thing you can give to a salesperson. How's that for a sales contrarian? Here's
sure.
why. Here's why. An ideal client profile says, David, if all the stars were to align, this is the kind of business we'd love to have. It's like a lottery ticket. It's a 1 in a gazillion chance that you'll ever stumble across one of these.
Yeah.
But every salesperson needs a target client profile. And that's not me wordsmithing. It's a totally different tool. This is a document that defines who will perceive the most meaningful value in what we offer, which gives deals the greatest chance of coming to fruition. So there's a chapter in the book dedicated to putting together this 12-component target client profile that becomes a benchmarking tool for every one of your deals. And it starts when you're first researching it. So here I know what I'm looking for. You start doing research, you say, what is the match or lack thereof? And then you prospect into them and get more qualifying. Then you have that first meeting, and that's where I'm really looking for my go, no-go decision. There's a lot going on in that first meeting. I'm also qualifying.
Yeah.
I want to see, do I want to invest time in pursuing this opportunity? Because the only reason to do it is if I think there's a high likelihood I'm going to get it.
There is so much great stuff in this book. I've got just a couple of final questions here as we're rounding the corner. You talk about engaging emotions, and you have this amazing phrase and concept in the book called empathetic expertise. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. One of the most accepted premises in sales, I'm going to guess you've heard it 4 million times, David, that people buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic. Did I get that number right? Is it 4 million?
That is about 4 million is correct.
Great. Now find a salesperson who actually puts that into practice.
1 in 4 million. And it's probably you. It's probably you, Lee.
So every salesperson on the planet has heard that expression and no one is doing it. And I was scratching my head. Why wouldn't someone be doing it if everybody's heard it? And then I finally had this epiphany. I have 2 sons that played college baseball. And I remember when they were young kids learning the game, and the coaches would say, now the name of the game, David, is to hit home runs. And it's fun for me to say David because that's one of my son's names. But nothing changed in their game until you taught them how to hit home runs.
Yeah.
So the epiphany I had was salespeople aren't engaging emotion when selling because no one taught them how to do it. And that is what this chapter is dedicated to doing. I'll give you an example. One of the things we do during a consultation is we ask questions. And if you think about the questions we ask, most of them are fact-based questions. David, what's the biggest challenge you face in your business today? And you'll share information back with me, right? So I write it down. But what if I phrase the question this way? David, what is this one thing, that one thing in your business that has you, I got to fix this now? What is that one thing? You felt that, didn't you? You felt when I asked that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want them to do. I want them to feel the question, and I don't want information from them. I want information with color, flavor, and texture. I want them happy with this information. I want to feel it because emotion is the deal energizer. If we're not arousing emotion during that first meeting, now you know why your deal fizzles out.
Yeah.
And if you're only asking logic questions, we said people buy based on emotion, justify their decisions with logic. So you're asking logic questions, fact-based questions over here. They make decisions over here based on emotion. So we have an alignment issue. We have to engage emotion with selling.
So important. Well, let's assume that people have bought the book, because everyone, you need to go out and buy this book like right now, ASAP, First Meeting Differentiator. First Meeting has gone brilliantly. They have followed the Lee playbook. They have done all of these things. What is the best way to end that meeting? How do we sort of launch off into the rest of the sales process that leads to a yes?
Well, we talked about a little of it, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thank them for investing time with me. And boy, that seems so simple. Again, find salespeople that are actually doing that because they put 400 tasks aside to meet with you.
Yeah.
And then we ask the question that I mentioned before, the meaningful value test, to make sure that they receive the value that I think they received from that interaction. We talked about the forgetting curve, and there's an opportunity, a way for us to counteract that forgetting curve. And that's with the recap email. So you tell them as you're wrapping up, I'm going to send an email to you later today. In the subject, you'll see the word recap that highlights the key things we talked about today. In that email, there's 5 parts. We're going to lay out the challenges that they shared with us using their words whenever possible, because we want them nodding their head going, yep, he gets me. Then we're going to share information, not everything we do, but relative to what they're looking to accomplish. What I said I'm going to do, what you said you're going to do, and what we agreed to do next.
Yeah.
And that email gives you the ability to highlight the key points you want them to remember. That's how you counteract the forgetting curve. Because in that meeting, we know there's only so much you're going to remember. But if you goose them a little bit with this email, oh, that's right, we talked about this, that, and the other.
Really amazing. So
and it has to end with a by next step, a scheduled interaction. And that's the last piece of email that you send. There's a chapter in the book that lays out exactly how to put that together.
Yeah, really great. I'm curious, this kind of little sidebar nuance question. We have the second meeting set up. Let's say it's, a week, 10 days, whatever it is. Do we want to be doing something or sending them something between meeting number 1 and meeting number 2 to keep them warm and excited and fuzzy?
The answer is maybe.
Okay.
It depends on the outcomes that you're looking for from that first meeting.
Yeah.
So we don't want to pull up the dump truck and say, now I'm just going to bombard them with stuff. Right. So it's got to be stuff that's relevant to the conversation that you had. Yeah. So you think about, okay, what did we talk about? What would be helpful to keep the sale moving forward, to stay front of mind? So maybe it is a case study.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's some product information more in detail.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a video. But it's not this generic. Everything we talked about today has been about personalizing.
Yes.
So I don't have a generic answer to say, always after the first meeting, send them all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's look at that first meeting and say, what do I need to do to keep this deal moving forward?
Brilliant. Absolutely. Well, my friends, this is the book. You want to get your hands on this book like I have my hands on this book. Lee, how do people get connected and stay connected to more Lee Salz brilliance and some resources connected to the First Meeting Differentiator?
Thank you. So first thing is, wherever you buy it, go to firstmeetingbook.com and sign up for the bonuses. I'm going to be delivering 3 free masterclasses, and they're exclusive to those who purchase the book. You sign up right on that page there, and the masterclasses are designed to help you implement what you read.
Yeah. Nice.
So firstmeetingbook.com.
Excellent. And the book is available everywhere. It's from our friends, HarperCollins Leadership, anywhere you buy books, bookstore, online, Amazon, whatever.
Yeah, and it's hardcover, Kindle, and audiobook, and I'm the narrator. So if you enjoyed listening to my voice today, as my little puppy does, as she's sleeping in her bed behind me, anytime I do these, she just gets in her bed and it's like, I'm going to listen to Dad. So if you enjoy listening to me, I am the deliverer of the content in the audiobook.
Totally brilliant. Well, Lee Salz, you are the man, the myth, and the legend. Thank you for writing this amazing book, and thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you, David.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.